Again, well, I thought some YouTube viewers might be interested in taking a look at this MC519 material collection system for my John Deere 425 or 445, and obviously it fits the 455 as well. I acquired this a couple of years back. Actually, it was when I went to buy, I was looking for a snowblower. I found a snowblower being sold, but with a 425 tractor at a great deal. I rushed out to buy the tractor and the snowblower, thinking, well, you can't have too many of these tractors. I already have the 445, but I was willing to get the 425 at such a good deal. And I just closed the deal with the guy, and he said, oh yes, and there's something else. And he took me around the back of his garage, and there was this 519 material collection system, which he was also including in the sale. If you know anything about these, they run, these are like anything John Deere, they're expensive, the parts are expensive, the thing itself is expensive, and I got it all in one very inexpensive package anyway. So I had never thought about using one of these before, but since I've had it, I do use it, particularly it's now the end of August. When the grass is growing frequently in the summer, I just use the 425 to mow the grass frequently, and I let it mulch. But at this time of year, I start thinking the grass is slowing down. I'm not cutting so often the lawns, and the leaves are going to be falling here in New England. So this is when it's really useful. So I've just power washed my equipment, so everything looks a little wet and shiny. But since I'm about to hook it up, I thought it might be interesting for some viewers to see how this thing hooks up, because they're not straightforward. There's a little bit of complication to them. But first, let's talk about the bits. This is the actual collection card itself. As you can see, it's on two sort of large caster wheels at the back there. It's a rigid connection to the tractor. The grass is blown out of the deck now, and by this what's called a Powerflow, which attaches to the deck. I believe these are very deck specific, and what I mean by that is this particular Powerflow only will fit, I believe, a 54-inch deck. In other words, if you had a 60-inch deck, you'd have to have a 60-inch Powerflow, but this fits on that deck there. We'll go over that in a moment. Then it connects via these tubes up to the collection box, the cart. And then when it's filled, you can pull a lever and the whole thing tips back and opens up, and you can dump it. That's a manual dumping system. There is somebody on eBay that sells a hydraulic dumping attachment for these carts, but they're like $450, and I'm not inclined to pay that just to so I don't have to pull the cord. Actually, I did think about getting an electronic actuator and putting on there, which would be a lot less expensive, but to be honest, they're very slow, so I'd rather just pull the cord than wait for the thing to slowly open and close again. So anyway, this is the MC519. When they're for sale on eBay, they're typically selling at between $800 and $1,200. So, and I paid $3,000 for the tractor with the snowblower and all this. So I did and the weights and all that sort of thing. So now, before I can hook it up, what I have to do is remove the weights and the weight bar from the back of the 425, and then bolt on this hookup attachment, and then we can hook up the Powerflow and the flow tubes, and I'll show you how it all goes together. Right, so the hitch bracket is now on there. If you can see it down here. I also put on at the same time my towing ball there, which has nothing to do with the actual bracket itself that we're using for the MC519 cart. So you can see these parts here. This slides, they just hook over, and then these slide back in as a locking device, and they're locked in place both sides, and then the card is already hooked up. And as you can see here, this is the cord that attaches and pulls the card open. In fact, you use this handle here, but it keeps it attached. and there's another arm there that is a release. So right now the cart is on. Now we just have to hook up the Powerflow to the deck. Here's the Powerflow, and here are the hookup points. There's a rod there that fits into a slot under the deck. I'm not sure if you can actually see it in the light. Now obviously this deck is already equipped for this hookup. If you were starting from scratch, you'd have to, I presume, bolt this piece on here, and then the top pulley there is where the drive is taken for the Powerflow, and then there's this clip bracket that fits over the front of the deck there. The real tricky hooking up the actual locking the Powerflow on isn't such a difficulty. It's pretty straightforward and pretty obvious. The tricky bit, actually, if you haven't done this before, and there aren't many instructions out there that help. The John Deere instructions don't really help much at all, I found. So it's trial by error. It's the way the belt hooks up and the tension that goes on. So I'll show that in a second. Okay, so this is the tricky bit, and I'm going to recommend that anybody trying to do this job has a small screwdriver. This for me works perfectly. It's the right length and it does the job, because what one is trying to do here is to move. This is now on and tensioned. You can see that, but one of those cogs down there has to be, and this is somewhat counterintuitive, to create slack, that bottom cog has to be moved backwards, not forwards, but backwards. And the only way to do that is to get the screwdriver on there and lever it back until it locks into position. And if you can see that, you get behind there and lever it back until the cog swings around. Underneath this is the lower, not a cog, the lower pulley inside the Powerflow here. It will lock in place when you move it back. Then you have enough slack to put the belts on, to move the belt onto the deck pulley. Before you lock up again, make sure both of these pulleys are in position. One on the top pulley underneath there, and one on the other side on the lower pulley. Then you move this back, this lever here comes back, and at that point it clicks back into position. Keep your fingers out of the way because they can get messed up if you have them in there. So use a small screwdriver, it's the only way. And again, the instructions I've read previously really are helpless. You just have to work this out. But get it on that cog arm and lever it back, the lower one, until it locks into place. Okay? As you can see now, the whole system is hooked up, the Powerflow and the collection cart. And these tubes are in place. The top half of the tubing system has to first of all be pushed up inside here so that metal clip there stays underneath there. Then the longer part of the tube slides up inside. They're allowed to slide so that the movement in the deck is compensated for. And then once it's slid, you slid that up inside there, you slide it back down over the top of the Powerflow. And then there's like a bungee and a clip underneath there that attaches to that pulley lever and holds everything in place down there. So that's it, that's the system. Now to empty, I talked about pulling a cord. You don't actually pull the cord as such. There's a handle you have to pull. First of all, you release this up here. You can do this from the seat. This then stays in place, that cord. I'm going to try and do this with my other hand. And then you release this wire safety underneath here. And then this should pull up. And it does. There you see. And that's how you empty the cart. Just stand back here so you can see it properly. And that's how it empties. And it empties quite easily. And closing it is pretty straightforward here. I can't do that with one hand so easily right now. Let me see. Here we go. Over there. If you've enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please give it a like And if you're into these kinds of tractors, 425s, 445 and such, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I've got about 27, 28 videos up now. And it's free to subscribe, so please subscribe, and then you can see when I put up other videos. I do have some more going up. So thanks for watching, and have a good day.